Hello, welcome to Lemon Studios, where we talk movies, television, and wrestling. I'm, of course, the Lemon himself, Zeke Lemon, and this is my review for Friday Night SmackDown. But before we get into that, let's get the house clean out of the way. Share them, leave a like, comment below, and know your thoughts on Friday Night SmackDown. And, of course, hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into it, shall we? So, sorry for no Monday Night Raw review. I actually went to the Monday night game of the Cowboys versus the Cardinals. You know, go boys. And, you know, Monday Night Raw was going on around that time of the game, and I was going to watch it when I got home, but man, I was so tired from the game, from, you know, cheering and, you know, the constant emotions going through the whole entire game, that I fell asleep. So I watched it Tuesday, and then I was going to do the review on Wednesday. I was like, there's not going to be any viewership for this. So we just took a bye week on it. But we are back here for Friday Night SmackDown, first one post Saturday night's main event. And a lot of people online were not a huge fan of this episode of SmackDown. And I couldn't disagree anymore. I thought this episode of SmackDown was absolutely great. I think we did a lot of refocusing. I think we added some depth where things were needed. Some good matchups. A couple of things were pretty shortcomings. I mean, the main two really was overall the ending, right? It was just, you know, kind of copy and paste, kind of like what we did on Monday Night Raw, where it's like it was the same type of main event, but here it wasn't the main event. It was Aleister Black versus Cody Rhodes. So that's new. I would assume these four bodies with these with how this ending went is going to be part of the men's War Games match. And you know they'll team up with Cody and Damian will team up with Jay and Punk. I don't know why I missed out on his name. And then McIntyre, who will get unsuspended, and Aleister will join up with the Vision and Logan Paul, or is Logan Paul part of the Vision? We'll see. And then, of course, we'll need to get one more body for the men's War Games match. It'll probably be Roman Reigns. But, yeah, you know, they go through. They have their little match. It was a pretty good back and forth. Drew McIntyre comes in and beats the ref. I don't recall if that is the same ref that was part of Saturday night's main event. If it was, then, you know, makes completely perfect sense. Or if he's just going to have this tirade against referees. Beats him up, looking like a Backstreet Boy with the white tank top on. They get in a scuffle. Then, you know, it's a jump on Aleister and Drew beating up Cody. Here comes Damian Priest. Some more scuffles happen. Babyface is stand tall. Drew McIntyre gets suspended. A little anticlimactic to, again, what I thought was a very, very enjoyable episode of Friday Night SmackDown. The other one I keep going back and forth on is the Julia situation. One, the match was just way too short between Julia and Chelsea Green. But I get it, right? Julia wasn't working as the Women's United States Champion. There was a disconnect there. She's not getting the reactions that we were hoped she would get. But I also don't think that's fully her fault. Now, that could be that I am just a huge Julia fan. Like I said, if I was to rank my top favorite female wrestlers, it's probably 1 is Io Sky. Hope she gets back to television soon. 2 is probably Tiffany Stratton. And then 3 would be Julia. So, you know, when that 3 happened, granted, they did protect her. There was a lot of distractions and all of that. She's going to help out Kiana James. Chelsea's getting her feet on the ropes to get the 1, 2, 3. We did what we could to protect her. Julia was immediately getting up, getting on the ropes, like, I can't believe you. I did like the visual with Ethan Page and Chelsea Green holding all 4 titles. I thought that was very cool to see. It's just, man, I just really did not want that happening to Julia whatsoever. And I really thought the plan would be Tiffany Stratton versus Julia for the United States Championship. Now, I don't know if we're going to change Julia face, and now she's going to go after Jade Cargill. We'll get into her in a little bit. And we're doing that program as well, because, again, I don't think we need another round of Tiffany Stratton versus Jade. I mean, I guess we do, because Tiffany did held that title for a long time. Do one more match where she is at 100%, draw a line under it, Jade Cargill wins, and let's move on from there. Then, yeah, let's probably do Jade Cargill versus Julia and the main event scene. We just see Julia wrestling. I think she cuts a pretty decent promo as well, for even with the language barrier. But yeah, it was just that when that 3 happened, I just felt like a little gut punch, because I am such a fan of hers, but I do understand the situation and why you would do such a thing. Let's just keep this title relevant. Let's get some defenses in it. Let's get some actual stories for Chelsea Green. Let's continue to add depth to it. Let's not go back to Michin. Michin is is fine, but, I've already seen Chelsea Green versus Meechin program. I don't need to see it again. And, when we had that backstage segment before, I was like, oh, man, here we go again. It's just like, do we not have any other women around? Which is why, again, maybe we need to give it to a Tiffany Stratton to really bring that relevance to it. We got so much more added depth into it. So those were the only two things that I was kind of questionable on when it did come to SmackDown. I mean, the opening with Cody was fine too. I was kind of hoping he would actually sit with the fans and just watch the show, and then we'll see whoever comes by to actually step up for the title. And, the back and forth between him and Alistair was fine too. But, really nothing to run home about, if you will. Same with the Rey Fenix versus Talatanga match as well. That could be the men's War Games match. There's certainly enough bodies for that, especially when you add Sami Zayn. There's your 5v5. And if that's the case, cool. Then, I guess the women main event Survivor Series this year, which is fine. I'm not against that whatsoever. But yeah, the match was overall okay for the most part. Again, none of the matches were necessarily bad to me personally. But yeah, we got some much added depth into the women's division. Lash Legend looks like she has officially debuted on SmackDown, aligning herself with Nia Jax. Good little program they had on NXT. I liked the tie-in to it as well. Lash did a great promo afterwards too. I'm in. I'm very much in. The match between Charlotte and Nia Jax was fun for what it was, but it's definitely the post-match angle that is the main takeaway of the night for that, with Lash Legend coming in, moving Bliss like she's a rag doll, and then going, and then Nia getting the pin with the 1, 2, 3 on the Annihilator, one of the most protective finishers on SmackDown. And again, I like the partnership. I like, again, the added depth that we're adding to the division. I also really like the little stinger that we had at the end where, Charlotte and Alexa are in medical. And then here comes Asuka and Kyrie and Nurse get up and doing this, the mist on them. That was funny. That really did pop me. I really did enjoy that quite a bit. Also, Jade, at first, I don't know if I fully love, because again, with how we did with Tiffany Stratton's reign, where, she was just put into backstage segments, and then that was it. She never really had time in the ring to do promos. Jade was going to come out and cut a promo. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, well, already starting off with the right foot on this title. And then, she goes, I'm that bitch, and then walks out. Part of me really loves that, because again, I think the beauty of Jade is that less is more. And her just coming out, telling it like it is, I am that bitch, walking out, makes a lot of sense. And it does make her look like a badass, especially with the way, with her, what she was wearing, all that looked like $1 million. And I was like, oh man, with just what we've done with the title before, I kind of would have liked a little bit more is more from that promo. But then Charlotte Flair's music hit, and I was like, give it to me. Give me that damn match. And then we had more. Yes, it was backstage shenanigans, if you will, where, Meechin, B-Fab, and Chelsea are having a little argument, and here comes Jay like, oh, so you gonna be the best champion? And like, nope, we're good. And then walking out, and they're walking towards the locker room. I kind of think Jay needs to get her own locker room just to really add on to that ego fuel, if you will. But, when she went, girl move, I was like, oh, damn. And I was like, yes, this is what we need for Jade Cargill. And then, B-Fab and Meechin are kind of talking about it. A lot of people are thinking they're going to be formed, to kind of really just redo everything we did with Jade on AEW. I don't think Jade needs extra people. I wouldn't mind B-Fab and Meechin joining her. Not at all. But I think, this whole, she can't trust anyone after what happened with Naomi. I mean, she came and really trust herself with Bianca, which again, I think, depending if Bianca is able to get healthy by that point, there's mixed reports that she is coming along, or she is much farther along than we thought. That's the Mania feud, is Bianca versus Jade. And I think if Jade stays alone, because again, she has lost all trust with everyone after what happened with Naomi, and then Bianca taking Naomi in and all of that. I just think there's it's better for the character of Jade Cargill if she stays alone. But I'm not against them joining her by any means. But when she goes, girl, move, and then, you know, they start talking, and then she goes, well, you got a problem? Okay, well, if you got a problem, we don't need to talk about it. We could talk about it in the ring, in a fight. And I was like, hell yeah, this is Jade right here. So B-Fab is probably going to die next week, right? But it's fine. I mean, that's the job. I'm a huge fan of B-Fab. I don't think we use her enough like we do with most of the SmackDown women's roster. But hey, you got to do the job sometimes. And yeah, we need to really establish Jade as, you know, this beast, if you will. Honestly, I'm not against them just redoing, you know, what we did with Goldberg or even Brock Lesnar, where, you know, it's just action, 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 short-term matches. Like, again, less is more type of thing when it comes to Jade Cargill. But yeah, I at first I wasn't fully in love with it because, again, I just think that title needs to be in the ring, cutting promos and doing all these different things. But everything we did backstage-wise, even though, again, I am kind of over that, I thought, okay, yeah, this is a good way to establish Jade Cargill as this new badass, I don't give a F type character. I am that B. I've already said it twice, so I don't want to say it again because, you know, YouTube. Yeah, I went from not loving it to absolutely loving it with everything that we did with her. I thought that was great television. Ilya versus Gargano was also a lot of fun as well. I don't like that he's turning down Tommaso Ciampa. I guess maybe that would be the program for like a PLE that we fill up at Survivor Series. You know, because we do need to have other matches that aren't War Games there, especially if both world champions are going to be occupied. Yeah, maybe a United States Championship match could suffice there, and then, you know, we'll see, and then we'll see what the other match is, because I think they only do 4 matches for a Survivor Series. But, you know, it was a lot of fun. Again, I wasn't a huge fan of Ilya going, no, I'm not going to fight you, even though you clearly won it and your music hit. I'll fight Gargano this time. We used that to add to the fire of the Fraxium versus DIY feud as well. Like how that doesn't involve a title. Again, continuing to add depth to the divisions that are needed. But yeah, again, overall, I thought this episode of SmackDown was fun. I had a good time. I felt like the 2 hours flew by for the most part. Anticlimactic ending, still kind of wishy-washy when it comes to the Julia stuff. But, you know, I understand the decision overall. But yeah, I thought all the matches were good. I thought the segments that we did, especially when it came to the women, which I do think needs to be a really big focus point when it comes to Friday nights, I think we did that. And we accomplished it. Now let's just continue that momentum as we move through and as we get closer to the end of the year. In 2026, we could be back to where both shows are cannot miss. But yeah, I really don't see why a lot of people weren't a huge fan of this episode of SmackDown, because I really did enjoy it quite a bit. But let me know what y'all think. Are you like most people on the internet and you weren't a huge fan of it? Comment below, let me know your thoughts on it. If you were like me, you're like, yeah, no, that's pretty optimistic. Again, let's have a conversation about it in the comment section. Leave a like if you made it this far within a review. I do greatly appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, as I am trying to grow into my YouTube career. And don't forget to squeeze the days, guys, because life is too short not to give you all. So squeeze every opportunity that you can. Until next time, I'll see you here at Limit Studios.